Let's get started. Welcome everybody to this webinar about Ecosia on campus and the Green Office. And we have some very special guests today. Fred from Ecosia, who's running the campaign or supporting people to deliver the campaign. And we have Elena and Rodrigo, who are Elena is from the Green Office in Leuven, or used to be involved there as a project manager specifically for the campus, Ecosia on campus campaign. And Rodrigo is the manager of the Green Office in the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam. And I just wanted to launch a quick Zoom poll to get a sense of how familiar you are with the Ecosia campaign and with the Green Office. So you can just quickly respond to that in your Zoom window, and then we'll get a sense of who's on the call today. And we'll also be collecting your questions later about the campaign. We'll have a separate share for that. So please just enter your responses to the poll, and then I'll hand it over to Fred. Oh yeah, maybe Fred, you can already show the next slides about the learning outcomes. And we are recording the session, just so you know. Will be made available on YouTube later. So yeah, the idea is that after this webinar, you'll be able to initiate the Ecosia on campus campaign, because you know like how it actually works, and you'll understand how to really make it work in collaboration with or as a Green Office yourself to really make the campaign more impactful. And you'll learn how to actually measure the impact of the Ecosia campaign. And probably you'll learn a lot more than that, but that's from our perspective the main learning outcomes. So yeah, I'll hand it over to Fred. Take it away. And again, if you have any questions about the Ecosia on campus campaign, please enter it in the Mentimeter, and I'll post it in the chat so you can directly open the link in your browser. And if you want to open it separately on your phone, so you have two screens, basically the phone next to your laptop screen, then you can just go to menti.com and enter that number or scan the QR code. All right, well, I haven't seen any responses on the poll, so let's just skip that and go directly to Fred.
That's great. Thank you very much, Tim. And yeah, thank you for the introduction. It's a real pleasure to be speaking with you all today. This is the Ecosia on Campus webinar in collaboration with the Green Office, and we have some wonderful guest speakers to tell you about their campaigning and how that's been. But yeah, just to get things kicked off, so I'm Fred Henderson, and I'm the Partnerships and Collaborations Manager at Ecosia. So I've been working for Ecosia for about a year and a half now, and I'm currently in the country development team. So I'm supporting the country managers to sort of grow their markets and reach new users. And my job sort of splits into three main responsibilities. So I'm the Ecosia on Campus Manager, where I'm supporting student campaign for Ecosia. I'm also supporting organizations that are in the process of switching to Ecosia. We've had quite a lot of interest from large corporates that want to make Ecosia the default for employees. So I've been involved in some of the technical processes there. And also I've been managing user support. So our users will often sort of reach out with lots of questions about Ecosia and how we plant trees. And I've been sort of automating some of those responses and just getting back to as many users as possible. And just to kick things off, I've also got this video just to sort of give you a brief overview of Ecosia.
Next time you do this, you could be doing this. How? By using Ecosia, the search engine that plants trees.
What's a search engine got to do with trees?
Search engines make a lot of money, enough money to reforest the planet. So Christian built Ecosia and uses its profits to do just that, wherever they're needed most. And it's working. They've planted more than 65 million trees across 22 countries. Ecosia's tree team worked together with local tree planting partners to make sure Ecosia's trees benefit people and nature. So all it takes is more of this, and we can have a lot more of this. Go to ecosia.org, get the free browser extension, and download the Ecosia app. Start planting trees today.
So I'm sure that most of you on this call are already well aware of Ecosia. Ecosia is the internet search engine that plants trees. And Ecosia makes its money just like any other search engine, which is through users clicking on ads. But what makes Ecosia so different is that it uses 80 to 100% of its profits to finance tree planting projects all around the world. And so Ecosia has, currently has 31 projects across 23 countries. And our tree planting team really focuses on establishing projects in biodiversity hotspots, as these are the parts of the planet which scientists have identified as containing sort of rare and endangered plant and animal species. And biodiversity hotspots are also sort of the world's carbon sinks. So this is where ancient woodlands are storing lots of carbon, and it's really important to protect these areas and sort of plant trees that support that natural biodiversity. And this map is sort of a little bit dated now. We've launched lots of new projects, one of them being in Australia at the start of the year. I'm sure that some of you sort of witnessed the bushfires, which were, usually a seasonal thing, but this year they sort of had, span out of control and were burning trees that should never have been affected in the sort of the regular sort of bushfire season. And so Ecosia, in response to that, established a project, a partner there to replant these areas which should never have been affected in the first place. And yeah, Ecosia's tree team is always seeking new projects, and there was a recent contract signed in Malawi for 900,000 trees just the other week. And so there's new projects popping up all over the globe on a frequent basis. So Ecosia has now planted over 100 million trees, which make it one of the largest planters of native tree species in the world. And from sort of the conversations with the tree team, Ecosia is on track to plant many millions more, and this is really only just the beginning. And as well as sort of planting in biodiversity hotspots that I mentioned before, Ecosia's projects will always sort of involve the local communities and plant trees where they'll sort of add value to the local people. So for example, in Senegal, the trees are part of an agroforestry system. And as you can see here on the left, the trees really help to sort of improve the soil fertility of the land so that farmers can plant their crops around the trees. And this also leads to higher crop yields and a more nutritious harvest. Whereas in Indonesia, on the other side of the world here, Ecosia plants sugar trees, which provide the landowners with an alternative source of income. So the landowners no longer need to sort of use their land for palm oil plantations, which has such a detrimental effect to orangutan habitat. So my point is here that each Ecosia project always serves a unique purpose for that environment and for the people that are there. And so I was really inspired by Ecosia. I sort of heard about it through my brother, and I was using it while I was at university. And I was working on a project with two of my friends, and we realized we were all using Ecosia. And we thought, well, it's a great way that we can make an impact ourselves, but how wonderful would it be if the university made the switch to Ecosia? And so we started a campaign at Sussex called Sussex on Ecosia, through running a social media campaign and having an attendance at various student fairs. And we eventually persuaded the university to make the switch. And since achieving that success at Sussex, we then rebranded to Ecosia on Campus, which is now a global movement of students that are campaigning to make Ecosia the default on campus. So there's more than 200 active campaigns worldwide, and up to 10 universities globally have already made the switch to Ecosia. And this is solely down to student-led campaigns where students have sort of, really wanted to make a difference at their university and have been able to achieve that through Ecosia. And collectively, Ecosia on Campus campaigns have now planted over 170,000 trees, which is only set to increase as more and more students join the movement. And so what's the impact? Well, depending on the university size, when it switches to Ecosia, this can often lead to the planting of many thousands of trees. So when the University of Sussex switched just over 2 years ago now, it's since helped finance over 17,000 trees. And more recently, at the start of the spring term this year, the University of Leeds made the switch to Ecosia across all of their browsers. And in 3 months, they'd planted over 6,000 trees. So it really does show the impact of a university making the switch. And so there's quite a lot of different aspects to running an Ecosia on campus campaign. And one of them is sort of having a social media presence. So most of our campaigns, they'll launch a Facebook and Instagram page as a way of sort of communicating with students about progress of their campaign, but also it's a really great way to show senior management that there's lots of students that support the initiative and would like to see Ecosia come to their campus. So as well as sort of campaigning online, you know, in pre-COVID times, you know, students were out on campus and sort of, you know, engaging with others at student fairs and handing out leaflets and just sort of networking and working alongside other green initiatives at the university. It is a bit of a shame that you know, these kind of events aren't sort of happening quite as much at the moment, because they are really great networking opportunities as well. However, you know, in COVID times, the social media aspect has sort of taken quite a you know, quite an important role, and as well as sort of the internal communications that you need to do as a campaigner. So part of it is sort of raising the awareness of Ecosia among students, but also reaching out to your IT team and building a case for switching to Ecosia. And you know, this may involve sort of going to meetings and, you know, really sort of arguing the case and sort of having sort of these kinds of conversations with senior members of staff, which is really great experience as well. And so it's kind of there's quite a lot of different aspects to campaigning, and we do sort of advise that you maybe have the support of you know, 2 or 3 people, just so you can sort of delegate some of the responsibilities. Some of you might be really keen on posting on social media, whereas others might you know, sort of be really happy to have those technical conversations with IT. So it is really down to you at the end of the day how you delegate those roles. And if that does sound a little bit daunting, then don't worry too much, because there's lots of support and resources that Ecosia can provide you with. So each Ecosia on Campus campaign receives a tracking link to download Ecosia through, and this enables us to see how many searches in trees have been done by students at your university. And then at the end of each month, you'll receive a tree report, which shows you know, the impact that you've made, and so you can really track your progress. And this can of course be shared on your social media pages, just to keep students excited and motivated about your university campaign. We also provide things like artwork files to really give your campaign a kickstart, as well as things like leaflets, draft press releases, and other resources. We do have a guide as well, which kind of outlines you know, some examples of social media posts that you can do, just to sort of give you some guidance there as well. And all of the Ecosia on Campus campaigners are part of a Facebook group as well, which is a really nice place where they can share their progress, you know, any sort of tips and tricks that they picked up at their university. And it's a really nice community of students where if the university switches, we'll all sort of be celebrating with them. And more recently, you know, due to COVID times, we've been holding virtual events. We had a virtual social earlier in the year, and a film screening just a couple of weeks ago. And so why should you campaign for Ecosia at your university? Well, one of the points is that it's a goal you can achieve. You know, it's something that I've been able to do, and the students on this call that will be speaking after me have seen some success as well. It does generally take like perhaps sort of 1 to 2 years to really persuade the university to make the switch, but it is doable. And, you know, it's really something that you can aim for whilst you're studying at university. It has a measurable impact in the kind of trees that you can plant, the number of trees, and it really sort of helps your university to prioritize sustainability and make an influential change whilst you're studying. So there's lots of skills that you can learn through campaigning for Ecosia, and at the end of the day, you can really sort of help your university make a positive environmental change.
All right, so I just wanted to say a little bit about the Green Office model, because we also want to hear how green offices can be catalysts for the Ecosia on campus campaign, basically. So for those of you who might not know about the Green Office, it's a student-led and staff-supported sustainability platform that informs, connects, and empowers the university community. And it also works on institutionalizing sustainability in education and research, in operations and governance. And so it's really a way of empowering students to lead sustainability changes across their campus in all aspects of the university, really. And so far there's 50 and more than 50 green offices existing around Europe and increasingly also beyond Europe. And so if you want to learn more, visit the website greenofficemovement.org. There we also have a free online course where you can learn all you need about how to set up your green office on your campus. So just a very brief intro on that. On the next slide, you'll see why we believe, well, first of all, just to give you a sense of what the Green Office is exactly. So there's students in the core team, usually around 5 to 6, who are paid for at least 1 day a week, supported by a staff member, working together with up to 100 volunteers on course projects. So really engaging the wider student community. And in normal non-COVID times, Green Office have a fixed office space where they can organize physical events and have a formal mandate and funding from the university leadership. So that puts it in a bit of a special position compared to other students' initiatives. As the next slide shows, that's why we believe the Green Office can be a key catalyst for the Ecosia on Campus campaign, basically because it has a lot of access to university internal stakeholders and decision makers, and can thereby make it easier to make Ecosia the standard search engine, for instance. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. I would like to hand it over to Eileen, who is from the Green Office in Leuven, and she will say a little bit more about how it went with the campaign in Leuven. Yes, Eileen, you should be able to unmute yourself and say a bit more.
Yes, I wasn't able to do that before. So, hi everyone, I'm Eileen, and I ran a campaign last year at the KU Leuven in Belgium. I had already been a student in Leuven for 3 years by that time. And in summer, I read a post about Ecosia on campus. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Students are running campaigns. So I sent a message to the Green Office. And I was invited to speak about my ideas. And I started the campaign. And even 2 or 3 months later already, I had talked to IT. The university agreed to switch, and in March we officially switched to Ecosia. That was amazing, obviously. Unfortunately, Ecosia hasn't been used a lot in the libraries, simply because right like a week or a week and a half later, everyone went in lockdown. But Ecosia is still on the computers, and when students go back to the library, they can use it. I'd like to go to the next slide to go over some specific details that people who want to start a campaign may have questions about. So coming in contact with the Green Office in Leuven was very easy. I just contacted them via Facebook, and they were very nice, and they were very welcoming and open-minded to the ideas I had. They also supported my campaign tremendously. In the first place, they matched me with some volunteers who liked to work on a project and chose my project to help. They each put in like 3 or 4 hours a week, and I couldn't have done it without them, really. They also provided great connections with IT, so they via them, I have been able to send an email to the person who was head of IT, so which was very easy. And I also had a collaboration with a student app, which was because the Green Office already had a connection with them. They have a great social media presence. They have a huge channel in Leuven with many followers. So every message I post on social media had a lot of views, which is easier than starting your own campaign where only your friends are following your post. So I didn't have that. I don't know how to say it. Like, I didn't have to wait till I gained followers. There were followers immediately. And lastly, Green Office also provided some money, which was handy because we've been able to buy snacks for events, to buy some drinks for events. We've printed very nice posters and even handed out cute plants. So we asked people to download Ecosia and then they could get a plant. And that was a really successful event. Ecosia also supported me. The most important way, obviously, is giving me the idea to start the campaign. There was also a lot of information on how to progress with the campaign. I could always message Fred, and then we'd call, and I could ask for advice. And like he already said, there are nice posters available. There are leaflets. He even provided me with some T-shirts that we handed out in a campaign, in sort of an event, and he came to Leuven to do a lecture about Ecosia. And the last thing, how did the conversations with IT go? The people in Leuven were very nice. I sent them an email. They were willing to meet with me. And after one meeting, they agreed to switch, and they just had one question. I had to provide a campaign, an information campaign, so students knew what Ecosia was. It wasn't just like some strange thingy that they weren't aware of. Other than that, they had no questions at all. So it went really nice.
Okay, thank you for that, Elena. So my name is Rodrigo. I'm the manager of the Green Office FU. And I would like to talk a little bit more about how this campaign was and it is run at the Vrije Universiteit. I personally was supervising the campaign. I'm still supervising the campaign. And we had already 3 different people involved with the campaign, as well as one volunteer that was also supporting in the run of the campaign. So let me start by how we learn about Ecosia. So one of our previous members was already very motivated and passionate about tree planting projects, and she learned about Ecosia, and she came to us and she said, okay, this is something super nice that maybe we should do it at the Vrije Universiteit as well. And yeah, so that was a great idea. Then we had a meeting to discuss this about the whole thing. So that's a little bit of the Green Office democracy. And well, we had the meeting and we decided that was a good idea to endorse this campaign. And then we call it the Ecosia Challenge. After this meeting, then we recruit a volunteer to support us on this campaign. She was a student. And after this, we say, okay, then we need to make some steps toward this. And one of the first things that came to our mind was, okay, we need to talk with IT management in order to get this as a default. So then we learn about, okay, first you need to learn what kind of devices environment you have at your university. In some universities, there are different categories of devices. For example, in our university, we have 2 main categories of devices. employee devices, and also campus devices, so devices that are in the campus, computers that people can use in the libraries, computers that people can use in many different places. And each of these categories, there are subcategories. It's a little bit complex, but you first have to understand what is the IT infrastructure of university and how you can develop this and how will be the impact, you know. For example, we know that we are 33,000 people in the full community among students and employees. So we know there are at least also 9,000 managed devices, and there is a lot of devices that can be changed to Ecosia, which is a good thing. Then the second step is to go through advocacy and policy change. So this is pretty much convincing them that it's a good idea to change to Ecosia, that is not only good for the environment, but it's also good to teach the students that this is something that, that the university wants to promote. And obviously it's also good for the image of the university to be seen as more sustainable, or at least to try to be as sustainable as possible. And the last part of these IT management conversations were the technical details. One very important and the main detail is the GPO, that stands for Group Policy Objects. And this is pretty much something that the administrators, the IT administrators, can use to set the configuration of many devices at the same time, all the devices that are managed by this administrator. And this includes changing the browser default search engine, which in this case, Ecosia. So after these conversations, we had around 3 or 4 meetings with them. They agree, and then it's a process because, well, we learned that there is also a lot of bureaucracy. Even if IT management agrees, there is bureaucracy, and there is certain processes that need to be completed before just changing like this. And however, those processes are ongoing. And we are pretty sure that, I don't know exactly when, but probably within 1-2 months, we're gonna have all the devices completely changed. However, in the meanwhile, we had to reach out to students because it's not only about changing the computer that are managed by the university, it's also about changing the devices of the students. And this is more about their own choices. So to reach out to students, we make a communication campaign for social media, and also we implemented these milestones of the challenge. So for example, when we reach 1,000, actually when we reach 5,000 trees planted by our community, we want to plant a tree in the campus that is the Ecosia tree. And they're gonna say, yeah, Green Office and Ecosia. So it's gonna be very visible, and people are gonna say like, oh, this is the things that we're planting. You know, it's a good thing to see it, and many people are gonna be even more willing to keep planting the trees. So what's next? Goals and symbols. So as I said, we want to plant at least 5,000 trees before the end of this academic year, so by September 2021. And lastly, we have so far planted 103 trees, and that's represent 6,000, over 6,000 search. So that's pretty much for now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Elaine and Rodrigo. It's been really wonderful to hear how your campaigns have gone, and just they're so different as well. Like, you know, Elaine, you saw such quick success in your first meeting with IT. You sold them on the idea, which is really, really wonderful that they have been so supportive. And, you know, Rodrigo, it's been great that you've sort of had a sort of negotiating your way through the bureaucracy with IT, and but it's wonderful that you've managed to persuade both of your universities that this is a step in the right direction. It's something that reflects positively on the university. And I think there was some similarities between both of these campaigns about how IT couldn't just make the switch to Ecosia without there being some some communication support. And so this is why it's really important that there's an active student campaign on campus that can really sort of show the university that it's something that students are asking for and it's something that they want. Because they can't sort of just make the switch, out of nowhere. It needs to sort of come from somewhere. So I think that's true for all Ecosia on Campus campaigns, is that it really helps to have a really motivated group of students at the university that can really influence that change. And so if you're somebody that really wants to campaign for Ecosia at your university, then the best place to get started is the main Ecosia on Campus page, which is ecosia.co/Ecosia on Campus. And here you'll find all of the support resources that you need to get started. So the guide, there's a PDF guide with some useful tips, as well as things like leaflets and social media artwork. And through this page, you can also register your campaign. And this will sort of mean that I'll get a notification and I'll be able to reach out to you if you need any additional support, and also send through that tracking link so you can sort of start sharing Ecosia with students at your university and start to tally up how many trees you've helped to plant so far with your campaign. Please do let us know if you're planning to campaign with Ecosia with your Green Office, because it would be really nice to sort of track all of the trees planted by Green Offices globally and have an overall picture of the impact that students have made with Ecosia and their Green Office. So do let us know if you're campaigning with your Green Office, and yeah, hopefully we can send some additional support resources, maybe some t-shirts and things as well. And if you're not sort of following Ecosia on Campus yet already, please do check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Here you can find updates from some of the other campaigns and all of the latest news and progress that's being made by campaigners globally now. So I think we've now got time for some questions, and I'm just going to flick this over to the Mentimeter, which I've got here. And there's quite a few questions. Wonderful. Okay. Tim, actually, would anyone like to read out their question? There's 8 that's come through here, but if you'd like to read it out, then I can answer that directly, or Tim can ask the question. Oh, okay. So yes, this question is saying, oh, sorry, is there somebody there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'll just read the question then. So it says, thanks very much for doing this. They would like to ask how long it can take for Ecosia to give the campaign its unique link so we can track the amount of trees planted. So I generally sort of wait until the end of the week and then see how many new Ecosia on Campus campaigns have come in, and then on a Friday, create all of the tracking links that are needed and send that email to the student. So you'll generally receive, so after completing the Ecosia on Campus form, you'll generally receive your tracking link within a few days. Okay. Maybe
one of the questions that just came in is, do you know one of the main reasons why universities are not installing it, and i.e. the results with Bing or worse for academic searches, how to convince them that this is not a problem?
Yes, okay. I mean, yes, Ecosia works in close partnership with Bing, and it's a search engine, and you can generally always find what you're looking for. It hasn't really been too much of a concern that I've heard from universities. I mean, more generally, our IT teams are kind of reluctant to do things that they haven't really heard about before. So like the clearer that you can explain Ecosia and like the benefits that switching has to the university, that sort of really helps IT to make those decisions. But we haven't really had too much resistance about Ecosia's search results not being quite as good as being a factor in stopping a university making the switch. It's usually more to do with complications over like the technical setup that's happened. So for example, at Sussex University, they're only able to make Ecosia the default in one browser in Microsoft Edge, because it was set up slightly different, technically speaking, for Chrome. And so there are a few sort of potential issues there, but from generally what I've seen, it hasn't really been an issue related to Ecosia's search results so far.
When my university switched, we agreed that on the top of your browser, there would still be the possibility to click on Chrome or on Google, because some students might not want to use Ecosia for whatever reason, and that would make it easy for them to still just use Google. But we've never really heard complaints that people were shocked or something that Ecosia was on their computer. But on the other hand, it only has been on the computers a week and a half before the lockdown. So.
All right.
Okay, there's another question here. So we'd like to have Ecosia as our standard web page. However, the university has a contract with Google. I'd like to know if there's any other green offices or universities in the same situation. So I'm not really too sure if having a contract with Google will sort of cause too many limitations as to whether the university wants to use Ecosia as its search engine or not. So, for example, if the university is using Google, I assume its main browser will be Google Chrome, and the university is able to use GPO to make Ecosia the default search engine within Chrome. So even if the university has a contract with Google, they would still be able to make Ecosia the default search engine. And as Rodrigo mentioned about the GPO guides with IT, this is something that Ecosia can provide lots of support in to really help IT to make that switch to Ecosia as simply as possible. Okay, I think we answered this question.
Fred, I'm not getting.
Sorry?
No, we couldn't hear you for a second. Can you just start again, please?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, so Microsoft is still striving to become carbon neutral, and Google has been carbon neutral for a number of years now. However, Google achieves this title through massive scale carbon offsetting. So they sort of outsource their their renewable energy to other countries, and so they are still producing huge amounts of carbon through their servers. However, they have this sort of title of being 100% renewable due to the offsetting that it does. Whereas searching with Ecosia, so Ecosia is more than carbon neutral. So we offset all of the emissions that we use through Microsoft Bing and all of the other office emissions that we use. We built our own solar panels, which generate more renewable energy that we then feed back into the grid. But because Ecosia plants trees, which are sequestering hundreds of thousands of tons of carbon from the atmosphere, by searching with Ecosia, you are actually removing carbon from the biosphere and also supporting an organization that is striving for more than just carbon neutrality. I hope that helps to answer the question. If there's any follow-up questions, then yeah, I'd be happy to discuss that as well. But we still have quite a few questions to get through in only 5 minutes, so I hope that was sufficient enough. So there's 200 campaigns that exist, but only 9 universities have switched to Ecosia. Were most campaigns only started in the last year, or is it in many cases very hard to persuade IT departments? Yes, I mean, that's a really good point. The ratio of campaigns to universities that switched is, is still reasonably high there. But it does really depend on how active the campaigns are, and you know, how long they've been campaigning for as well. So I mean, sometimes we have students that reach out to us that really want to campaign, but you know, for whatever reason, they get sort of involved with their studies again. So yeah, it's we have been tracking for quite a lot of Ecosia on Campus campaigns, you know, over 200 now. But yeah, some of them, once a university student graduates, they may not be other students to take it on. So it does really vary. And you know, as Elaine mentioned, you know, some universities have been really inclined just to make the switch. It's the same for some in the UK as well. And you know, each university has to kind of be treated as, you know, as its own sort of its own entity. And it is kind of quite hard to make those cross comparisons sometimes. It does really depend on you know, the level of student engagement, and also sort of how inclined the university is, you know, to make an environmental change. Yeah, this is a great question, actually. So is the major difference between setting Ecosia to the default browser that we've already partly implemented at our university and downloading Ecosia on their computers? So it's always the aim of Ecosia on Campus campaigns to make Ecosia the default search engine using this GPO method, because this means when a student goes onto their laptop or their one of the computers on campus, Ecosia will be the default search engine. And we found that this really is the most effective way to sort of encourage students to use Ecosia, and you know, it's the best way that we sort of start seeing more searches and ultimately more trees planted by a campaign. This option is sort of much more impactful than asking students to download Ecosia to their own laptops. So yes, it's always the aim to make it the default search engine using that GPO. Okay, so how much work is it for the IT department to install Ecosia? And so generally speaking, for IT to implement a GPO, as we've been talking about, it's a relatively straightforward thing to do. IT administrators use GPOs very frequently, and the thing that can slow things down is just that there needs to be you know, an incentive for IT to make that change, and you know, that needs to come from the student campaign, but it also needs to come from, you know, senior members of staff that, you know, want the university to switch as well. So technically it's quite straightforward, but it's the other aspects involved, and you know, that's why, you know, we need the localized Cozier on Campus campaign to really sort of support with that. Okay, I'm just trying to see, we only have a few more minutes. I'm just going to flick through these questions. Yes, if IT have any sort of privacy friendly questions or privacy issues, so Ecosia has like a full privacy policy which you can view. We've also got links to that in the Ecosia on Campus guide, and yeah, hopefully that should sort of put your IT teams sort of mind at peace there. So this is the campaigner Groningen. So yeah, thank you very much for joining the presentation today. It's been great to have you on the webinar. I know that you've been sort of working with your Green Office. Oh, sorry, I thought that my Zoom cut out then. I've heard that you've been working with your Green Office to sort of support the campaign. So yeah, I hope that you picked up some useful tips today. And yeah, that's just a comment towards Rodrigo's aim to be planting trees on the campus as well. Yes, absolutely. So just to round things off today, it's been really lovely to have the chance to speak with you. I hope that it's really, you know, inspired some of you to launch an Ecosia on Campus campaign, or, you know, reach out to your Green Office and see how they can support you with that. And yes, I mean, as I mentioned, please do reach out to us through the Ecosia on Campus page, which is ecosia.co/Ecosia on Campus. And here you'll find all of the resources that you need, as well as the registration form. And if you apply through the form, I'll get an email, and I'll be thrilled to be having further conversations with you. But yes, thank you very much for your time today. And I'm not sure if Tim just wanted to round things off.
Yeah, sure. So thanks so much for those really valuable lessons learned and answering all these questions. And I just wanted to say this is one of the first webinars for the Green Office movement, and we would love to continue webinars. And if you have any topic suggestions, please let us know so we can invite future speakers on topics that you most care about. I posted a link in the chat here. Please take a minute to just fill out this Google form evaluation. So we'd love to hear what you liked about this webinar, what could be improved next time, and any topic suggestions you have. And also, if you enter your email there, we can send you again the links to the slides and any other links that were mentioned today. Yeah, any last words from Eileen and Rodrigo?
Good luck with starting your own campaign or continuing your campaign. Bye.
Yeah, just thank you very much for inviting us today. And yeah, we hope to see more Ecosia campaigns in the Netherlands and everywhere in the world.
Amazing. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll end it here. Again, one more time, please take 1 minute for the evaluation, and we'll be in touch with future webinars. All the best for now. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Have a great evening. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.